promise I slept a couple hours, but I was in that strange late afternoon window where if I didn't sleep, I wasn't going to be able to operate a vehicle. I certainly wasn't going to be able to be anywhere near as productive as I needed to be tonight, knowing that I wanted to give you a third live stream today. So I did lay down for a couple hours from like 4 to 6 and woke up just in a complete state of confusion and fog. Maybe you can relate. Maybe the Ravens can relate. And maybe all of these teams can relate for the first time since 2017. The playoffs this month will not feature Mahomes, Lamar, and Burrow. Yeah. And I'm sure every single one of these organizations, every single one of these fan bases is kicking itself, knowing that this AFC playoff picture, really the entire NFL across the board, is wide open. Wide open. And it's a missed opportunity, a missed window by the Ravens. I'm sure Cincinnati and Kansas City can relate on that front. Good to be with you guys tonight, just after 8 o'clock on the 5th of January. Welcome to 2025-26 offseason. I guess technically it's just the 2026 offseason. There'll be a lot to get to in the coming days, in the coming weeks. Locker room cleanout took place today at One Winning Drive in Baltimore. Represents the last time that the way this team was constructed will all be together within the confines of the building, of the castle. And knowing that this team, not only staff-wise, could potentially see plenty of change in the foreseeable future, but with plenty of expiring contracts with guys that entered this year in contract seasons. As always, this is just life in the National Football League. They will not suit up or be intact together as an organization again the way that it was this season. And as I'm looking in the distance right now, it looks like the replay just began. If you have NFL Network on at your house right now or in the man cave, you're going to want to turn it off. There's the illegal blindside. It literally just started. That was not a blindside block, an illegal downfield block there on Zay Flowers. That was a ridiculous call. It negated 15 yards. It took 15 off of Derek's 41-yard burst to start this. I forgot Cam Hayward went down on that play as well. I mean, literally the game is on in the background right now in my peripheral vision. It caught my attention. We don't need to relive that, but we do need to talk about the latest surrounding the Ravens and the business priorities and the business dealings that need to take place from an organization perspective so that they can start to turn a page to prepare for the 2026-2027 season. And Ian Rappaport, Tom Pelissero, Adam Schefter, a number of national insiders, including Josina Anderson, weighing in on exactly that. So why don't we first and foremost go with Rap Sheet and Pelissero? And spoiler alert, I would not hold your breath in terms of the guarantee. There's this universal belief that there is guaranteed to be sweeping change in Baltimore this offseason. I don't know if that's the change that we're all hoping might be the case at the top. It certainly doesn't feel that way. The only thing I feel confident about right now is that there's only one man, one person who ultimately, one, knows what he's going to do, and two, will make this decision. And that's Ravens owner. Remember, English is not going to be as smooth as I'd like, just given the state of running on fumes. But it's up to Steve Bisciotti and Steve Bisciotti only when it's all said and done, unless John Harbaugh wants a change of scenery. He is seeing his name fly around in the betting markets as a potential candidate for the New York Giants, who are looking for their next head coach. But here is Rap Sheet and Pelissero on the latest within the last hour or so, courtesy of NFL Network.
A process that they have gone through now in 18 consecutive off seasons under John Harbaugh, in which they evaluate everything in the operation. And there is no question that this was a frustrating year for many people involved, from the early portion of the season where the Ravens were turning over the football to the string of injuries that Lamar Jackson did. Even after that slow start and they were bound to get themselves back in playoff contention, it never really felt like they were hitting their stride. As for the future of Coach John Harbaugh, here's what I would tell you. The Ravens extended Harbaugh's contract back in March. He is one of the highest paid coaches in the NFL. He has 3 years remaining on his contract. There is absolutely no reason to believe that the Ravens would fire John Harbaugh. However, there are organizational conversations that need to take place across every level. Is there a possibility that they could have staff changes, maybe coordinator changes? Are there things that they need to do differently from a personnel perspective? Those are the moving parts here over the next several days in which those things have to go back and forth. Now, you can't entirely rule out a possibility, Ian, where the Ravens and or John Harbaugh get to a point and they say this isn't going to work anymore, but they have had a long-standing, solid marriage of sorts here over the past 18 years because they're able to go through these processes. They have a long-term vision here. No reason to think at this point there are going to be major changes in Baltimore, but some level of change does sort of feel inevitable.
Yeah, and the only real way is you get to a point where they say, all right, we're not working together, is if one side wants to make changes and the other side says, no, we are good, status quo. I'd be surprised, really surprised if John Harbaugh said, no, we're running it back with the entire same staff, nothing changes, and let's go. I don't get that sense. In my sense, you talk about staff changes, I would wonder about the offensive side of the ball. Todd Monken has been one of the better offensive coordinators in the NFL, certainly got a lot out of Lamar over the last couple years, but sometimes you do need a new voice, and if something were to change there at offensive coordinator, Todd Monken would immediately be one of the more in-demand play callers, and I wouldn't be surprised, Tom, if there was some additions on defense. Nothing wrong with Zach Orr at all, a really bright young coach a lot of people like, but just sort of some reinforcements maybe on the back end just to bolster what they already do defensively.
All right, guys. John Harbaugh, the latest, the new news, national insiders, Rappaport, and Pelissero. You could sit here and say, look, this is kind of in line with what Josina Anderson was noting earlier, that the attention is being turned to his coordinators, not him. He signed an extension this past offseason. He's got 3 more years left on his deal. And as we've heard throughout this entire process, and certainly in the days that led up to Ravens Steelers, he, like Mike Tomlin, likely will not be fired. He said there's absolutely no reason to believe that the Ravens would fire John Harbaugh. No reason to think at this point there's going to be major changes in Baltimore, but some level of change does sort of feel inevitable. Rappaport then goes on to talk about the coordinators specifically, and this is where it gets ugly, at least from a fan base perspective, because we've watched this closely all year long as the Ravens reached the end zone in the replay of last night in my living room. Quote, I would wonder about the offensive side of the ball. Sometimes you do need a new voice. If something were to change there at offensive coordinator, Todd Monken would immediately be one of the more in-demand play callers. And I also wouldn't be surprised if there's some additions on defense. Nothing wrong with Zach Orr at all, a really bright young coach that a lot of people like. Just some reinforcements, maybe on the back end, to bolster what they do defensively. So, if you didn't already feel like going into today that John Harbaugh was safe, what are you thinking now? It sure seems to me that unless Steve Bisciotti would pull the plug and go in a different direction, or unless John Harbaugh himself would feel the need for change, given that there are at least 6 vacancies around the NFL at the head coach position, then I think the Ravens are going to run this thing back, at least at the tippy top, from a head coaching leadership standpoint. And that prompted me to go ahead with the poll that I have in the live chat right now that I'd love for you to weigh in on. And that is this, with over 250 votes and counting thus far. Are you still a believer in the John Harbaugh, Lamar Jackson tandem in Baltimore? Are you? Because 78% of you thus far to start off today's show, now 79% of you say no. You are no longer a believer and that they've run its course. That tandem has run its course. Lamar Jackson was asked about his future, I think, as we all probably know by now. one about his specific future, knowing that his 2026 cap hit skyrockets to 2020 excuse me, man, English, come on, brother, you can do it. To $75 million without a extension, without a contract extension. And then, of course, the follow-up was about John Harbaugh, knowing that his future has been the talk of national, regional, local circles, really all throughout the last couple of years, but it was really ramped up this year, particularly given the 1-5 start.
When we're going to be able to talk to you next after this. This offseason, there's a lot of questions about your contract, your salary cap number. Do you feel you'll be back as the Ravens quarterback next season?
We just lost a game, a divisional game, a game to put us in the playoffs. I'm not even thinking about that right now, to be honest with you. I'm still caught up in what just happened, That's not my focus right now.
Lamar, there's a lot of questions about Harbaugh's future as well. Do you want to see John remain the coach for next year?
You asked me about next year, Jameson. Like, I'm so caught up in what just happened tonight. I can't focus on that right now. I just told you. Like, he asked me, "Are you stunned?" I'm stunned right now. I'm still trying to process what's going on. Like, I know we lost, but what the that's all.
I think two things can be true about last night as I process Lamar's comments. That I commend him for making himself available, as most did last night, including Derrick Henry in a locker room media scrum with reporters. With that said, given how emotional and how much you're processing in that moment, with respect to that, Lamar did decide to, in that moment, he turned down the opportunity to truly commit to John Harbaugh. I think that's a fair way of saying it. Despite the emotional magnitude of that moment and where he was, you could see he was almost at a loss for words. He didn't necessarily take what could have taken just a second or two to share his appreciation for John Harbaugh or his commitment to John Harbaugh or his belief in John Harbaugh. Now, that could very well be something that he chooses to do privately. We know that he was asked about it in the days that led up to Ravens Steelers. And we remember how he handled that press conference earlier in the week. It was a lot of, I don't know where this stuff comes from, right? The narrative, either the generalizations in the form of an opinion piece by Mike Preston that blew up and snowballed. His answer repeatedly in that press conference was, I don't know where that comes from. Instead of standing 10 toes down in a lot of ways. And hey, that's his prerogative. And I don't know how he chooses to handle his business behind closed doors, particularly given this set of circumstances right now and his relationship with John Harbaugh. But I do know that a former Raven, Chris Canty, who's still plugged in with the organization, has this opinion on that topic.
John Harbaugh. Was last night, in your mind, his final game with the Ravens?
I think there's a strong chance that it is. And I get it, all the reporting around it, Adam Schefter saying that John Harbaugh leans safe. Something seems amiss between the relationship of Harbs and Lamar Jackson. And because of that, and the Ravens being in a position where they have to address Lamar's contract in a significant way this offseason, I think that something's got to give. I understand that nobody wants to blame either one of them for the lack of success that they've been able to achieve since 2018. But at some point, you've got to be able to take advantage of a quarterback that's capable of putting together a fourth quarter like we saw in Pittsburgh last night. And there are just too many instances of the Baltimore Ravens having blown double-digit leads this season, but also throughout John Harbaugh's tenure to justify staying the course. Something has to change in order to get a different result. And I think that the head coach, between the two of them, is by far the easier to make a move.
Derrick Henry weighed in on this conversation.
After this kind of ending, there's going to be a lot of people talking about it. Are there going to be big changes in the offseason? I mean, including at the top with Harbaugh. I mean, would you like to see him back, and would you like to see as many key people with the team back?
I love Coach Harbaugh, love the team, love the organization. As far as those decisions, that's out of my pay grade. I don't make those decisions, but I love everybody in this organization, and tried our best this year. Just didn't do enough to get it done.
All right, there's a reason why I wanted to play Derek's comments right there, because again, while I know, and I want to be sensitive to this and mindful of the way that I'm setting this up, because I see how the way some of you are reacting in the live chat. We're going to get to the waiting room in just a bit and open up these guest lines to get your thoughts on this. So let me be clear. I do. There's a level of speculation with the way that I'm commentating on this. Okay, let me just throw that out there first and foremost. But there's a difference between how Derrick Henry handled that question and the way Lamar Jackson handled the question related to John Harbaugh. Okay? Now, these two tend to handle their media obligations differently. And Derrick had the luxury of a little bit more time in between the end of the game and when he spoke with reporters, whereas Lamar was at the podium almost immediately, along with Harbaugh, along with Roquan, so on and so forth. I recognize that. And I'm really trying to put myself into those shoes of compartmentalizing, right? Because clearly Lamar is, if anybody watched the press conference, like I'm sure a lot of us did, Lamar was in a state of shock, right? And so I want to give him that level of empathy in trying to understand this. But there have been many times throughout the course of their shortcomings in recent years where Lamar has chosen publicly, don't know what happens privately between the two, to not exercise a level of reassurance to everyone else on the outside that he and John Harbaugh are the glue that's intact for this organization. Is that fair? I think that's a fair way of saying it. What say you guys? You heard from Chris Canty. You heard from Derrick Henry. You heard from Lamar Jackson. Jamila has left us a super chat saying thank you for the sports coverage. Jamila, thank you for being with me tonight. Zayad is here throwing around some euros, which I love. Sarah went to the tropics. Should I go to Europe? I mean, it's off season, isn't it? I feel like it's going to be anything but this week in terms of what's at stake, the news cycle, you name it. It was going to be a busy week regardless. They were either going to host the Houston Texans in Baltimore or be where they currently are right now, with everybody looking and all eyes on the Ravens organization. Let's get to the guest lines and open them up. I am attaching a 60-second timer tonight because, quite frankly, I might collapse if I don't. And we got a business as usual tomorrow. As Derrick Henry says, the sun will rise tomorrow. Love those comments from him in support of Tyler Loop. God, I hope Tyler's doing okay on a personal level. I really do. I'm sure that'll prompt bullshit in the live chat. Looking forward to that. Chef Trez is grinning like he's going to be a part of that. Kobe writes, if they are serious about firing Monken, keeping Harbaugh then they need to just trade Lamar to Miami for 3 first-round picks. Harbaugh is the most effective when he has an overwhelming roster, especially defense. Man, if they fire Todd Monken and then keep Harbaugh and Zach Orr, it's like, aren't you back at square one? You brought Todd to Baltimore to bring this passing attack and this overall offense to the next level. And guess what? Despite this year's regression, a lot of which has had to do because of the quarterback carousel with Lamar's health and an offensive line that just straight up took a significant step back that led to red zone woes, ball security issues, you name it, a drop percentage that was second worst in the league. Aren't you back at square one? Why is Todd Monken the fall guy? I get it. It's inexcusable what happened in the second half, in the fourth quarter in particular, the other night against the Patriots on Sunday Night Football. That's been a trend in big, high leverage moments. He's inherently, as Femi always says, and I think correctly so, he's inherently a lover of passing the football. It's part of the why he was brought to Baltimore. But my God, if you put the pros and cons list together, and I'm an advocate of that, I think it's a laundry list of pros that outweighs the cons when it comes to evaluating Todd Monken's, 3 years now, right? This is his 3rd season in Baltimore, I believe. He was brought in, they brought him 23, 24, 25. Yeah, so he just finished his third season as the offensive play caller. Ziad writes, try hiring Buffalo. Oh, Brian Flores. Try hiring Try hiring Brian Flores as head coach. The brain is a really funny thing, isn't it? Try hiring Brian Flores as head coach. I know you guys are getting entertainment value out of this too. Try hiring Brian Flores as head coach. If it doesn't work because legal issues, at least make him the highest paid defensive coordinator. Promote Monken to head coach and promote T. Martin to offensive coordinator. Free Lamar Jackson. T. Martin's definitely a name to watch. He's been in the system for a while. He's been Lamar Jackson's quarterback's coach. They seem to have a rapport. T is a widely respected assistant. That'll be a name to watch. I agree with you there, Ziad. Not sure if that's an upgrade over what they have in Monken. But if for some reason Monken wants to change the scenery, you never know. You just have no clue the magnitude of what takes place behind closed doors in an organization and an operation like this, given the disappointment that was attached to this season, given the lofty expectations, given how unacceptable it was on a number of fronts. Isaiah writes, I hope he's okay too, Bobby. I read there were horrible messages sent to him and his fiance. It's the worst part of sports. They've limited their comments in the Instagram pages. There's threats all over the place. It's just disgusting. It's vile shit. It's the worst part of sports. It's not unique to Baltimore, as I discussed earlier today. It is a part of God. It's the internet, right? It's also professional sports, and when you combine those two in one, it's terrible. Kobe writes, if the reporting is correct, it just tells me the owner is not ready to admit that he made a mistake with Harbaugh's extension, as Harbaugh doesn't get along with Monken. You know, when you read the tea leaves this year, it certainly led you to believe that there was a philosophical disconnect at times between the two, whether it was directly calling out Todd or indirectly. That's something that I look back on with, that was compelling in all the wrong reasons, for all the wrong reasons from a fandom perspective. But I think you have a guy that, again, inherently wants to throw it all around the yard, and that's not John Harbaugh. And that's not the Ravens. A 50 burger from Dinero Tranquillo. And I got to do that. For my Spanish people back in Madrid where I studied abroad, I got to run that back. Dinero Tranquillo. Tranquilo. Thanks, Dinero. 50 burger from you. I live in Houston, and I was at the local Ravens bar. Oh, is that right? Houston, home of Manny's side piece. I live in Houston, and I was at the local Ravens bar with about 75 other Ravens fans. Sounds dope. She knows nothing of the sport. She saw how animated we all were. She said, I didn't realize it was this serious. Yes, love, it is that serious. Hashtag Brian Flores. Hold on here. What am I reading right now? I live in Houston, and I was at the local Ravens bar with about 75 other Ravens fans. She knows nothing of the sport. Was this a Tinder date? She saw how animated we all were. She said, I didn't realize it was this serious. Yes, love, it is that serious. Hashtag Brian Flores. So you took your date to a do or die Ravens Steelers watch party, and you want Brian Flores. Am I picking up the pieces here? Okay. Dark Thunder 35 says, don't forget the 2 hit pieces this year against Monken where they defended Zach Orr. 2 straight seasons with the 31st pass defense with all the draft picks and money invested. God, I got such a sour taste in my mouth about that one, right? Because all of it was anonymous. All of it was, some of which was unfounded. We get it. Abandoning the run, as Kyle Van Noy joked about on his podcast, as we heard everybody talk about nationally, regionally, locally after the Patriots game, it's a problem. But if you think that Todd Monken and him inherently wanting to throw it around the yard is the worst of the Ravens' issues, I got nothing for you in that regard. Quan 410 says Bateman, Rowe, Marlowe, and Andrews for Max and a third. Max Crosby is believed to be available in Vegas. Kwan's making his pitch. Kush Renata says, for God's sakes, please focus on the guards and pass rushers this offseason. Shouldn't rely on a rookie and aging vets for sakes. No rush, no guards equals no Super Bowl. Yeah, I don't know how you don't completely retool both guards. Got to let Fa'alele walk in free agency. I was going to say you give Voorhees more time to develop, but I know he's still within his rookie contract window. But I think obviously those are two areas, offensively speaking, that you have to retool. Zayad writes, the odds on Brian Flores. We love Monken and Lamar. It's the best duo. David Murray writes, EDC is trash. We need Ozzie Newsome back. Ozzie, of course, his last draft class was Lamar Jackson's in 2018. That made the 2019 draft class EDC's first. First rounder that year, of course, was Marquise Hollywood Brown. Appreciate you guys for being with me tonight. Over 3,100 concurrents and counting on a busy one. The collective will be back in play tomorrow night. Zarebek, Cole, myself. The Vault tomorrow at 12 noon Eastern as we continue to unpack what it is that's being talked about nationally right now. You heard from Rappaport and Pelissero to begin the show in terms of some of their feeling out reporting on where they feel like the Ravens are. And it certainly matches up with what Josina Anderson is hearing. They're expecting coordinator level change, not head coaching change. And Josina, again, as we discussed on the Vault earlier this afternoon, says stay tuned. That's what she's anticipating, according to her sources. And she also followed up with Ramey here in an exchange that had to do with John Harbaugh. Ramey saw her report from this morning, and I'm sure, like many of you, was like, yo, how many coordinators before you actually acknowledge the common denominator? And Josina put two and two together and said, if this is in reference to John, let me say this. There are teams who wish they could have the foundation, culture, and consistency that Harbaugh has built in Baltimore. Last night was tough. I get it. Life is tough. Even when you are talented as hell, trust me, I get it. Do not take for granted that Harbaugh is not only well-respected and well-regarded around the league, he is well-coveted. Y'all need to pay extra attention to that last part. And I'm sure that's got some of you running hot, but I think it's important to remember, even though we know, a lot of us know, that it's run its course in Baltimore and that somebody else deserves a bite at the apple with Lamar Jackson in his prime, given the shortcomings that have really become ingrained in the Ravens culture in the month of January in high leverage moments. This is, I think, representative of the way that John Harbaugh is viewed on a national level, and that's the perspective that Josina Anderson gave. So I just ask you to at least consider that, keep that in mind, while knowing what we know, right, on a micro level, watching and covering and fanning for this team as closely as we all do. For me, it's the core, for me, it's obviously the coverage part of it. This is the other aspect of it. And it's something that I try to be receptive to when you look from 1,000 feet up. Shimmy Boy says, all I see is Doc Rivers. The NBA's or the NFL's Doc Rivers. I've heard that referenced in the past. KP writes, if they keep Harbs or the owner needs to speak to the media and explain the reasoning to the fan, because it could get ugly real fast next year. Kieran writes, who really runs the team? Harbs or Bisciotti? Zayad writes, Josina lost relevancy when Primetime did his thing. What do you mean by that? Josina lost relevancy when Primetime did his thing? You talking about Shador? That was definitely an interesting thing. I'm not sure what's been going on with her Twitter in that regard, but I love Josina. She's a friend of the show, and she's very, very plugged in when it comes to the insider side of the game within the NFL. Over 3,500 concurrents. Let's open up the guest lines. 60-second attached timers. I'm sorry, but just bear with me. I want to get as many voices in here as possible, and I have more to cover in terms of locker room cleanout from earlier this afternoon. Let's see. This was a chronological physical effort. Let me see what I have here. Chef, welcome back to the program, brother. Talk to me.
Not much, Bobby. Man, 60 seconds is gonna be tough after you just hit all those. But
I'll be
I'm
somewhat flexible, but I just got to set the precedent so we can get through this.
yeah, I'm gonna try and keep it quick. But first, I did want to say I do 100% disagree with what you're. I know it's more just like a not an assumption, but not a theory or assumption about the whole Lamar thing. I mean, right after the game, he's up there at the podium. You already know, like with the whole podium situation, and whatnot. You're already gonna have John Harbaugh up there, Derrick Henry as well, because I mean they're going to be right there. I feel like that would be a tough question to even answer as a player. Be like, hey, how do you feel about your boss as he's like 10 feet away from you? He can clearly hear you. I feel like it was a tough question to really answer, as well as you're processing a loss off of a kick missed wide right. I mean, I feel like that's tough. Um, Second thing, I feel like with Bashotti, he's g- he's at the point where he has to double down. The best time to move on from John Harbaugh was after the AFC Championship game, where that was as much as the players didn't execute as much as we would like, that was a bad coaching game plan. And you had, I mean, really probably the best head coaching option you could have in the building in Mike McDonald, the second best with Anthony Weaver. But Steve Bisciotti let both of them walk to keep John. And now, I mean, to not have egg on his face, I feel like he has to double down and say, no, I still believe John can get the job done. So I think he's wrong. He should move on from John, but now it's a lot tougher because you don't have the answer in the building with a Mike McDonald or an Anthony Weaver or something like that. I mean, it is what it is. I mean, you're gonna have egg on your face either way. It's whether you want to face the music sooner or later. But either way, Lamar's not getting any younger. Our stars aren't getting any younger.
And how to best summarize everything that you just said, whatever the vision is, whatever the framework is moving forward, you have to hear from the top. You have to.
Yeah.
If you stay with Harbaugh, you have to hear from the top. Obviously, if you pivot from Harbaugh and it's a completely new framework and a completely new organizational structure in terms of leadership, you have to hear from the top. And I get it. Steve is entitled to the way that he wants to handle his business in private fashion. We just reached the limit in terms of waiting room guests. So as soon as Chef leaves, the next person can come in. It's 10 max. I just got an update on that. I haven't gotten that in a while. Upgrade if you need more people backstage. No, I don't want more people backstage. You need, regardless. Nobody. There's nothing groundbreaking about it. It's time, Mr. Bisciotti. It's time. Appreciate you, Chef.
But I don't think he's gonna do it. But yeah, it's time.
I was gonna say he ain't bending the knee to nobody. He ain't bending the knee to shit. Exactly. Thanks, Chef. Appreciate you. And obviously, look, he's entitled to handle it the way that he wants, and the way that he feels like is the best way to run his organization. And as always, he tries to hire and lead in a way where he has people in place that can be his mouthpiece for him. And that's what Harbaugh has been for 18 years running. But that doesn't make it right now, knowing that this is at somewhat of a crossroad. This is a moment in time for an organization that, vision-wise, has more questions than they do answers, knowing that their quarterback has a cap hit that skyrockets to $75 million, and knowing that we all remember what happened in 2022, given the complexity and just how difficult that negotiation was for Eric DaCosta and his front office. Laura writes, Harbaugh has fostered a foundation, culture, and consistency of losing in Baltimore, and it's time to go. We simply cannot get over the hump with him. Thanks, Laura. Right up the road. Appreciate you for being here. Always showing a little bit of love. Like the video if you could on the way in, guys. Subscribe, hit that notification bell. Consider becoming a channel member or gift-giving membership this offseason. Ian O'Connor, who's got a great feel for the New York sports market, and in this case, the Giants organization, who fired Brian Daboll in season, had this to say earlier. As we sit here right now, I think Kevin Stefanski, who was let go by Cleveland today, is the leader in the Giants clubhouse. The team has had internal conversations about John Harbaugh, as you would expect, in case he leaves the Ravens. Harbaugh would hurdle Stefanski if he's free, and the betting markets. Look who creeps in for Kalshi. Stefanski leads the way in terms of the betting odds, the analytics, the chances to succeed Brian Dable in New York, Mike McCarthy, Jeff Hafley, and John Harbaugh all on this list in terms of top 4 for whatever it's worth. Back to the guest lines we go. My God, there's way too many to choose from here tonight. There's a guy that's walking the streets of D.C. I want a fucking piece of him right now. I know that. Happy New Year to you, brother. Welcome in.
Happy New Year's, bro. So I got 2 things. The first thing is I actually see where you're coming from with what you're taking away from what Lamar, not what he did say, but what he didn't say when he was at the podium last night. And I actually had a similar reaction, and I've seen other analysts kind of talk about it in the same way. It's not so much that I think that what he demonstrated on the podium means that he wants to get rid of Harbaugh, but I think what it does say to me, at least, is that he's not necessarily like on the same page with him and isn't ride or die with John Harbaugh. Because if he was, I don't care how heartbroken you are after a loss. Like, if your coach is your coach, like that's your guy, if that's your guy, and you're going to say that. So there's only 2 ways to react to that. It's either he's your guy and you're going to say that, or he's not your guy and you're not going to answer the question, which is basically exactly how he handled it. So I get where you were coming from with that. And the second thing I want to get into, though, is the way Rappaport framed that entire coordinator decision around how, if anyone, it's Monken, to me seems almost scripted, like it was handed to him by someone in the Ravens organization. I have no understanding as to why he like made a point to say Zach Orr was safe, made a point to say that Monken was not, when anyone who's been watching this team since Monken has been there has seen a top 3 offense. Last year was an historic offense, and then watch Orr, who had a historically bad defense. So I just don't understand how that reporting holds any kind of weight. And like I said, he's an insider. I feel like he's getting that information from someone within the organization, potentially media team, potentially front office. But either way, it was very sus.
But Evan, here I agree with you on that. And there's a level of speculation there, just the way that you and I are reading into somewhat, which
Correct.
I think is fair and reasonable in terms of how Lamar Jackson's handled the John Harbaugh discussion. But where there's a correlation here is that it matches up with Schefter, Josina, across the board, Glazer, right? And that is that there's more likely to be change at the coordinator level.
Right.
Harbaugh's going to stay. And until Steve Bisciotti says otherwise, there's 3 years left on Harbaugh's deal, and ain't nothing going to change at the top. And that's where we stand right now.
Yeah, it seems to me like Harbaugh and his team have very good relations with not only the Ravens front office, but the mainstream media. I mean, the way they frame this guy, you'd think he was a 3-time Super Bowl champion. And we just know that's not the case. And, I want him to be gone. So maybe that's part of the reason I'm taking things out of Lamar's statements that may or may not be there, because I want that to be the case. But I think it's a legitimate read into what was going on. But Happy New Year's, bro. Free tourists one more time, and we'll talk later.
Some things never change in 2026. Stay safe out there. Happy New Year to you, Ev. Good stuff there. Fair stuff, I think. I'm glad you guys are weighing in with me tonight. We're coming up on that 4,000 concurrent number, so needless to say, thanks for spending part of your evening with me. Clinton writes, fire Harbs, hire Clint Kubiak, the 49ers offensive coordinator, and find a good defensive coordinator that will take the defense to levels it should be at. Dustin writes, the definition of insanity: keep replacing the coordinators and expecting a different result. Stop wasting Lamar and do what needs to be done. Zayad writes, messages get stale. Flores blitzing doesn't. Easy hire, with a salute emoji. Rantin' Raven Pod says, as a fan base, how do you get excited for the next season if Harbaugh comes back? 2023 was heartbreaking. Why does Todd Monken get so much hate? Rantin', here's the beauty of it. Why you get excited is that until otherwise until something changes, Lamar Jackson is under contract. And if you have Lamar Jackson under contract and Lamar Jackson is healthy, which obviously it was a big if this season, if Lamar is healthy, not when is he healthy, because it was a different ailment every single week, that if you have Lamar, you have a chance. And I think that's why you come back year after year after year. Mary writes, how can the Ravens keep Likely, make him a receiver? Well, he's already practically a receiver. He just struggled in that regard this season due to a multitude of factors, including his health, missing the opening month of the season. Isaiah talked about his future at the Ravens locker room cleanout earlier this afternoon.
For sure. I mean, at the end of the day, I mean, this is the team that took a chance on me coming out of college. And I tell the Ravens, tell the fans, every time I get a chance to, that I give y'all everything I got because y'all the ones that took a chance on me when I came out.
You love 80, and you just hate for him that it was such a struggle this season. And as you see the numbers on the screen, it's disappointing. 27 receptions on 36 targets, 307 receiving yards, just one touchdown over a 14-game span after missing that first month with a foot injury. He stepped on Sanusi Kane in a one-on-one rep at the end of training camp, had a procedure, worked his ass off to get back, and the game that he returns, Kansas City, Lamar exits for a month. Just a brutal perfect storm for a player in the middle of a contract year. Decided to bet on himself. The Ravens wanted to extend him. Perhaps that money was going to go to him instead of Mark Andrews. Isaiah goes into the season with that in mind, that kind of mindset. And obviously they pivoted and decided to extend who may end up becoming a lifelong Raven. That was a non-factor last night in terms of his direct involvement with the ball in Mark Andrews. And that likely sets Likely up for a departure in free agency this offseason. Quote, for sure, he says, on if he'd prefer to continue playing in Baltimore. This is the team that took a chance on me coming out of college. I tell the Ravens and the fans every time I get a chance to that I gave you all everything I got because y'all are the ones that took a chance on me when I came out. I can't help but think that he has played his last game in Baltimore. BB and CFP Production says, please discuss your take on Brian Flores possibly being the head coach. Need some positivity. To be quite honest with you, BB, can I take a rain check on that? I really haven't had a chance to process that. I know he's exceptional. I know he will likely get a second opportunity this hiring cycle. It did not work out well for him in Miami. He's had a tremendous stint under Kevin O'Connell in Minnesota. But I just haven't had a chance to sink my teeth into him. And wow, pause on that one. That's going to be a major pause. But I would love to have that conversation if there starts to be serious material, right, to suggest that the Ravens would indeed plan on moving on from John Harbaugh, which does not appear to be the case as of right now, less than 24 hours into the beginning of their offseason. Kobe writes, they treat Harbs better than Belichick at the end. And Dustin writes, this team lacks discipline at every level. That starts with coaching. And since we have been through multiple coordinators, that leaves one guy left. The culture was here before Harbaugh. Ryan writes, I canceled Sunday ticket and I'm boycotting until Harbaugh is gone. I'll believe that when I see it, respectfully, Ryan. Appreciate you guys for being with me tonight. If you could like the video on your way in, subscribe, hit that notification bell. A lot of you want to get involved tonight. Reggie says, what's up with the clickbait, Bobby? There's no news here. Sure there is. There's plenty of news. There's continued news to suggest that the Ravens will make changes at the coordinator level and not at the head coach level. That's the news from Rappaport, from Pelissero, adding to what Schefter's reported, adding to what Josina Anderson's reported. And, of course, the Giants are now a part of this conversation in terms of John Harbaugh being a name in the betting markets related to what their vision is for their next head coach to succeed Brian Dable, who was fired in season. Back to the guest lines we go. Wes is with us. Good to see you, brother. What's going on?
Bobby, thank God you came on for a third time today because I'm fired up after today. This is a bunch of fucking bullshit if I've ever fucking seen it. I don't know who the fuck would put out Munkin, of all people, to be fired, really, after seeing what we saw all fucking year, the last 2 years of Orr and Harbaugh's ass, Monken is the one on the hot seat. If Bisciotti follows through with this and gets rid of Monken and keeps Orr and Harbaugh, he's not fucking serious about winning. He doesn't give a fuck about the fans. It's a bunch of bullshit if I've ever seen it. I don't know what, going to Josina, I don't know what she's talking about as far as culture. The culture left the fucking door whenever Suggs, Reed, Nada, and Ray left the fucking building. As evidenced by John's, it came up on Twitter. It's resurfaced on the Ravens sit-down podcast they had with John. And he's sitting there talking about how like the Super Bowl or bust and win or go home or do or die, that's all bullshit and it doesn't matter. And he doesn't buy into it. Of course you fucking don't. It's evidenced by your last 13 years since the Super Bowl. Do you know, Bobby, that he has had more 500 or worse seasons than he has playoff wins since the Super Bowl? That he almost blew another double-digit fourth quarter lead, by the way. If he didn't win that Super Bowl, which he was very close to losing by doing the same thing that he does every fucking season, would he still be here after 13 years? 8-8, 5-11, 8-8, 9-7, 10-6, not even winning playoff games. He won one playoff game before Lamar got here in the five seasons, I think, before Lamar got in. It's a bunch of bullshit. I'm fired up.
I know it's hard to hear Todd's name. I hear you. It's hard to hear Todd yet again being a potential fall guy like he was with multiple hit pieces in season. I get it. I do. And what he's done, by the way, since getting to Baltimore in 23, just 2 seasons calling plays for who was supposed to be back-to-back MVP. That's what Monken's done. And this year, obviously, you're only as good as your personnel. The offensive line obviously regressed significantly. And when Lamar misses a chunk of time and your general manager swings and misses on the backup quarterback, forcing you to bring back Snoop for a second or third stint in Baltimore, the product that they ultimately finished with is par for the course.
Yeah, I'm not big on Monken, and I wouldn't care if he got replaced. But to act like out of the three of them is the problem is just asinine.
Sure.
It's beyond ludicrous.
Sure. Got it, man. I mean, this has nothing to do with Bama, and you are really quite hot.
Listen, Ian Rappaport got me fired up, man. I'm about to run through a brick wall, and not for good reasons.
Oh, shit. Dude, get yourself right. Great call. Appreciate you, man.
Hey, man.
Absolutely. Guest lines are flying right now. It's at its capacity. If you're trying to get in, there's only 10 at a max. There's a 10 max limit. So when somebody exits like West just did, then you can try and get in to the waiting room line that I'm currently looking at down below my service here. Kobe writes, how can Harbs underachieve but be defended so aggressively by the media? He walked into a ready-made culture and it fell apart when Ray and Ed retired. Ryan writes, I'm riding with the Vault, done with the Ravens. Does that mean you're not riding with me as well, Ryan? I hope you do, both. Craver Tom writes, to keep John Harbaugh is dangerous at best. The fans will absolutely turn on him and the Ravens at the first hiccup next season. John Harbaugh has to go. He is not a winner. 10 of the last 13 against Mike Tomlin, he has been on the losing end. And 8-1. 8-1 as an underdog against the spread is what Mike Tomlin is up against the Ravens over the last 9 meetings. They came in as underdogs at home. I think it was 3.5 or 4.5. It ended up by kickoff. And ultimately, because of what we watched unfold, and where is this game at now? Under 9 minutes to go in the second quarter. There goes Lamar running in one of his RPOs. I thought Lamar looked good last night, mobility-wise, all things considered, given the circumstances. Ooh, there's the play that Fa'alele went down. That actually looked ugly for him. I hope he's okay. Dark Thunder 35 says, Monken didn't healthy scratch Mitchell, refused to bench 72 and 77, and refused to demote Orr when more experienced defensive coordinators are in the building, referring to John Harbaugh's decision-making throughout this season. Yeah, you do get the sense that it was a Harbaugh decision on Keaton's lack of involvement. And what did we always learn about why that was the case? Special teams, blitz pickup, blocking. When really, all due respect to Rasheen, he struggled last night as a blocker. I thought Devontae Walker had the most brutal night, though, in that category. I get it. He scored, and he had a couple of receptions, and I think he's going to have a big year next year for them. We'll see if DeAndre Hopkins is back. But I thought Tez really struggled, and Rasheen did as well. Kobe writes, I'd call in with expletives, but I have a sleeping toddler. So you just dump in super chats instead, KP, which is appreciated, and I appreciate you. Ryan writes, I'm a Bobby Baltimore fan for life. The Ravens with continued thumbs down emojis. Appreciate you, Ryan. Back to the guest lines we go. Rave is currently pacing, but chronologically, we have to go to Oscar. Sorry, Rave. We're going chronological. If you're waiting, continue to wait. Oscar, we spoke earlier today. Where are you at?
Yesterday.
Oh, God, that just shows you where I'm at. Where are you at, brother? Where's your mind at right now?
I'm just defeated. I'm tired of it. Like, I saw a meme today, just like signaling all the losses, and I don't know what's going on. The hot take, or whether it's a hot take or not anymore, that I have for you is you kind of hit the nail on the head. Also, can't speak English today.
Join the club.
Nail on the head earlier when you said that sort of, are you with the Lamar Harbaugh marriage? I don't think Lamar is. And let's be completely real here. I've always said this. EDC and Hearts are tied at the hip. If one of they're legit neighbors, as we know. If one of them goes, both of them go. I'm convinced of that, and that is not happening. Which leads me to my next point. I think we're in greater danger of losing number 8 now than we were in 2023. I think he's gone. I don't know whether they're gonna come up and get a solution done, and then are they gonna pay him $75 million? Or 71. I think it's 71.
74, 75, somewhere around
yes, I do not see that happening, given the way that this organization is run. And last night, sort of, Lamar's comments after the game strengthened that belief in me a little bit.
Thanks, Oscar. Appreciate the call, brother. Yep. That is not tenable. They cannot go forth and compete next year without a Lamar Jackson extension, period. Like there's no, the sentence can't continue. It's period. Gregory Turner writes, the team can't be rebuilt due to void years. Praying Lamar drops NTC and they deal him to Detroit for Jared Goff. What? You want Jared? I like Jared Goff. I think he's a great quarterback. You want Jared in Baltimore? Over getting the deal done with Lamar? Lamar should finish his career in Baltimore. It is a failure. It is a failure across the board if Lamar Jackson does not finish his career in Baltimore. Period. Mary writes, is there a scenario to keep Likely, not Bobby's favorite? I got nothing against Isaiah. Mary, does it come across like that? Man, sometimes you guys, I don't know, put words in my mouth or maybe just misinterpret the way that I can, my English can come across. Look, Likely is going to get paid. Even despite the underperformance statistically this season, he's going to get paid. So I don't see a scenario. The franchise tag is not an option. I mean, the franchise tag's too rich. I could see a scenario of them bringing Kohler back, but I could also see Charlie, having listened to his exit interview earlier this afternoon, wanting to change the scenery and wanting more targets and wanting to be more involved with the passing offense at the NFL level, much like he was at Iowa State. So, Mary, I guess just to be clear, if there is a scenario here, it's that he takes a 1-year prove it deal coming off a year where he just wasn't healthy. And then from there, look, Mark Andrews got extended. He got the money that would have gone Isaiah's way. And Isaiah decided that he would bet on himself. And you respect the player, you respect the negotiation tactic that was. And unfortunately, it backfired with that injury. Joseph Cook, who always live chats but never has the kahunas to call in, says, Bobby Upstate, you and Sarah were drinking Andrew's Kool-Aid. Stop the BS. That's right, Joe. You got it right, Joe. The Andrews Kool-Aid, nothing better. Give me all that I can take. Call your ass in. Rant and Raven Pod writes, by excitement, I mean it's hard to enjoy games when you expect the worst because it usually ends in heartbreak. We've been conditioned. Surely Steve feels the same way when or if he even watches. I think we could all assure one another that Steve Bisciotti watches this team closely. Just because he has taken himself away from visibility to the public doesn't mean that he's not heavily invested in all aspects, every fabric of the organization. Ranton writes, and that's just a fan point of view. Imagine the locker room. Thanks, Ranton. Appreciate you. Young Nation writes, Bobby, you don't seriously believe that, brother. Believe what? Let me know. Back to the guest lines we go. Dre, you were up next, but your camera's off. So if you're ready to roll, I'll bring you on, but your camera's off at the moment. So I may have to go on to the next caller. I'll give you an extra second. Camera on, off, on, off, off. To Mexico City we go. Welcome, brother. What's going on?
What's going on? Well, Jacina must been asleep before 2008, because if I remember, the Ravens already had a culture before John Harbaugh. I mean, that was Ray, Ed, Suggs, Austin, Nada. I mean, what's wrong with her? Like, John hasn't established a culture of winning, because after Super Bowl 47, it's just losing. The only winning season that we actually had was 2014, and that was wasted because of a ill draft decision, at corner.
But think about it, though. All they've done in the regular season since Lamar arrived is win.
But it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if they win on the regular season, because the point is the Ravens have to win on the postseason.
Go ahead.
And that has been always the calling card of the Ravens is make noise. Either go to the divisional round or in the AFC Championship. Always. And since the Super Bowl, we haven't been there. The only time we have been there, it has been in 23 with Lamar, but it's not enough.
Look at the screen. This is ultimately, this is where they've fallen short, right? And you're right. In January, it hasn't been good. And he is at the forefront of that. It's under his watch. With that said, I think what Josina does is take, as most insiders do, right? They're covering 32 teams. So whether it's directly or indirectly, there is a cross-comparison game being played with what they see, knowing that today alone had, 5 firings on Black Monday? So there is, I think what we do need to consider is that there are a handful of teams league-wide that would literally clamor. My buddy Jake Asman, who covers the Jets, would literally give a limb to have John Harbaugh run his program. I know that doesn't make anybody feel better. It's a consolation prize. And we know I'm not sitting up here absolving him of anything. I think it's time. I think it, as I've been saying for a while now, change is a necessary evil. And if you are trying to get over the hump, if you are trying to maximize, unlike you did on the rookie window in his contract for Lamar, if you're trying to maximize him in his peak form, in his prime, then you need to make sure that you're exhausting all possible resources in order to do so. And the way that this tandem has worked for 8 years has run its course. But based on the reporting, it sure seems like they're going to run it back, at least in terms of at the very top.
I don't think so, because For as much as they say, oh, but he has contract for a third. Brian Billick, he had a contract extension. Next year, he fumbled it, and he's out. It doesn't matter if he has a contract extension. He ran his course in Baltimore. That's why they brought John Harbaugh. John Harbaugh has to go despite his 3-year extension. And you need to bring, like everybody's saying right now, X's and O's guys, either defense or offense. In my personal opinion, I prefer either Clint or Clay Kubiak because that would maximize Lamar at a like. Do you remember I think it was 2015, Peyton Manning with the Broncos that he went hammer? That season Lamar's going to have with the Kubiaks. Either one of them. Or if you want Brian Flores or the defensive coordinator from the San Francisco 49ers. Give him a shot to revitalize that defense.
Saleh absolutely deserves another shot, and he would certainly be on my short list if they were serious about a head coaching change for sure. Thanks for the call, brother. Appreciate you. Guest lines are open. Waiting room is still cooking. We're still at the max of 10 at once, so thanks for your patience tonight. I'm going to get to as many as I possibly can. Raven Rantin Pod says, by excitement, I mean it's hard to enjoy games when you expect the worst because it usually ends in heartbreak. We've been conditioned. Surely Steve feels the same way when or if he even watches. Just realizing that I already read that. Kevin Johnston writes, take me off the ledge. This hurt. Where is the silver lining? The silver lining is Lamar Jackson. They got to get a deal done with him, Kevin. But as long as he is in Baltimore, they have a chance. That's the silver lining. And knowing that this season, there was nothing surprising about the outcome of what happened last night. Because Tyler Loop didn't lose them this season. The Ravens themselves, after a 1-5 start, after failing to address the pass rush, after failing to address guard play, that's what lost them this season. Ball security early on lost them this season. A hangover in Buffalo week 1 lost them this season. That's what happened. Tyler Loop did not lose them this season. Tyler has got to figure out the dynamic kickoff, the landing zone, ball striking more consistently and accurately. 8 total penalties on kickoffs aren't going to cut it. And that's not that can't be ignored. Tyler on the season finished with a field goal percentage of 88.2. He was 30 of 34, but he was 1 of 4 from 50 or more yards. And he didn't convert from 50 or more since week 1. He was perfect between 40 and 49 coming into last night, converted from 40 earlier in the game, and then obviously missed from 44. He was 44 of 46 from a PAT standpoint, and again, an NFL worst 8 kickoff penalties. He was not the reason for the Ravens' demise this year. That doesn't mean that there aren't areas of significant improvement needed for the rookie. Zayad writes, Bobby, watch Emery on Lamar's Zay touchdown. It's John Harbaugh malpractice. Did he stand in tough? What was it? I have to go back and watch. I was too busy watching one of the greatest of all time do something that's just extraordinary. It was extraordinary. And to put the touch and the floater type feel on that football and land it right in Zay's breadbasket in stride, it's the stuff of legend. We'll be watching that for years. Dark Thunder 35 says Harbaugh has the same resume as Mike McCarthy, yet the media acts like McCarthy is a bum and Harbaugh is some coaching wizard. It's mind-boggling. Back to the guest lines we go. Rave is pacing, and I'm afraid that his step count is going to become astronomical if I don't bring him on. But he was actually up next in terms of chronological, so let's bring him on. Good to see you, brother. Talk to us. You are way far away from the mic. Jesus.
I'm disgusted because you know good and well everybody was waiting for my conversation. You see what I love about this Ravens chat? All of you guys No, I was right. Rave Kingdom been right the whole time. And you know why I'm right? Bobby was here. Bobby, you was here. Bobby, do you remember the guy put the super chat? He said, dude, Rave, you only care about John Harbaugh being fired. You should be focused on more about the run we're going to make in the playoffs. What run? What run? What run? See, I tried to tell y'all. I tried to warn y'all. I said, bro, even if the Ravens make the playoffs, do you really want to see John Harbaugh again? Really? Really? In the group chat, I see some of y'all chat right now. I paid attention to the chat. Oh, I don't care about the timer. I paid attention to the chat. The chat, I read y'all. Oh, the media defends John Harbaugh. The media. No, the fans defend him too. I remember it. When we was talking about, when I said I'd rather John Harbaugh get fired. Y'all was talking about I'd rather focus. Y'all told me in the chat. Y'all said, hey, if John Harbaugh makes the playoffs and stuff, and he makes a run, all is forgiven. That's what y'all said to me. Y'all said all is forgiven with that coach? Are you serious? Now let me tell you something. Shout out to Ben Cleveland. Hey, my boy, Ben Cleveland got picked up.
Come on, acknowledge what I have on the screen.
He got picked up. My boy Ben Cleveland got picked up. Now listen.
Ben's gonna make a postseason run. Look at him.
Hey, listen. Rave Kingdom was right. Y'all try to tell me, leave me alone about Ben Cleveland. They're trying to get Emory Jones to start. He's our Graven Savior Grace. That's why they cut the trash Ben Cleveland. Emory Jones didn't start no more. He didn't play a starting spot in all season. Only reason Emory played, because Voorhees and Valele got hurt for a sec. And he came in. So you're wrong. Chat, you can all say it. Rave Kingdom was right.
Why is he sweating? Seriously. Why is he sweating? Ben Cleveland is about to make a playoff run, or at least have the chance to make a playoff run. The Chargers, the Ravens West, have signed him to the practice squad. The Ravens released him earlier last week. He served a 3-game suspension for violating the league's substance abuse policy stemming from the DUI charge last February. Ben, a supreme disappointment in Baltimore, is now on the practice squad for Jim Harbaugh in LA. You know, I had that graphic ready for when Mr. Rave came on. More super chats have come in. KP writes, and Mike McCarthy can coach on offense. Greg from Long Beach says, how about Marvin Lewis to rebuild this culture? Bring him out of retirement? Is he currently retired right now? I'm pretty sure he is, right, Greg? I'd like to track him down for an interview, to be honest with you. It's off season, so it's really important for us to get as many voices inside the vault as we possibly can. That's one of my goals as we kind of turn a page and shift into our off-season agenda. Thanks for being here tonight, guys. Back to the guest lines we go. Let's see here. Chronologically, I have it all listed as it's coming in. And that brings us to Trey in Columbus. Good to see you again for a second time today. I think we met today, but I'm so mushed that I don't even know.
No, yeah, you've been on 3 times today, so yeah, second time.
Good.
But yeah, I'm just so frustrated. But there's something that I think a lot of people have you brought up Adafe Owe.
What a year he had. What a year he had.
7.5 sacks.
Yeah. No, I haven't. I mean, there will be plenty of time for, the pass rush conversations and Chuck Smith. And, obviously you're only as good as your personnel and the previous
coaching
years. Yeah, the previous years, they had been 1 and 2 respectively in sacks. And obviously we know what happened in 23 with the trifecta, that historic year under Mike Mack. And I'm going to give you a little bit more time here, but obviously it's a supreme. Doesn't even begin to describe it how disappointing their pass rush attack was this year.
Yeah, no, that's what bothered me. Just by looking at his stats, looking what he was doing with Zach Orr, and then obviously leaving Zach Orr to be more comfortable. And what the words were, what did he say? Free. He felt more free and more relaxed. It felt like he was at home, that he could do what he wanted to do. Does that explain a lot of shackles that it feels like that Zach Orr was I felt like he didn't let his pass rushers be pass rushers, and it kind of showed a lot throughout the season. I mean, I'm just so fed up that it kind of got to me after I saw all that, and then I'm a fan of I'm struggling with names today too as well. Joe Anderson. I can't. I'm going blank
Josina.
on her
Yeah,
name.
Josina.
Josina. So Josina, that kind of that threw me a blank too about how she reacted about like, hey, everybody would kill for that, but yet we don't talk about how we let go of somebody that's done it before, like had a great season like John Fox did, and then they go to Gary Kubiak in Denver, and then they win a championship. It's just like when you see successful seasons go on, and then you start seeing like, all right, we can't get it done with that head coach. Why not pull the plug and go to another coach? I mean, the risk is, I get the risk, but you don't become a billionaire, aka Steve, without taking risk. So that's the biggest thing that kind of put me in shock, because I'm just watching this all like play out, especially for the coaching situation. I mean, like I kind of brought up before, I am a Brian Flores fanatic on that, because I just watch how he coaches, and what he did with that staff in Miami was a big thing for me.
Yeah.
So, I mean, 2 winning seasons was good enough for me.
Thanks,
So,
brother.
yeah.
Appreciate you. I'm gonna comment on the Adafe side of things as well as it relates to Alohi, because he spoke during locker room cleanout today, and look, he was a positive presence for the Ravens this year. Yes, he struggled at times in space, with tackling technique and angle and pursuit, but he did bring a level of calm to the secondary. And I see some in the live chat right now being like, why was he playing over Ardarius? Well, guys, look. Not only is Ardarius, I think, on a snap count, and they're being careful with him, knowing that he really, really busted his ass to get back from that torn Achilles and the rehab that followed it, having tore it. He literally tore it in May and then came back to them in December. Like, that is insane. When you look at the snap count last night, it's pretty obvious to me that they were being really, really careful with Ardarius. Right now, I'm seeing him at 17 defensive snaps last night. That was 23% of the share. Alohi, who had been in the system, obviously, since the deadline in November, played 72 defensive snaps. That was good for 96% of the share. So, and hey, I hate to say it because he's such an impact player, and he plays like he's 6'8", $180, or 280 rather than 5'8", $180. But Ardarius struggled in the fourth quarter. He did.
That tackle behind the line, we called it out earlier, but yeah, that was a key. If he would have made that tackle, that was what I was kind of shooting for. Like that would have stuck out as one of those big moments that he made the tackle behind the line.
He was still flying his body around. He was
his
body around, throwing, just getting involved. You're never going to call the guy soft.
You
He's
can't.
about as physical as it gets. And in a year where that was lacking at times, they missed him. They missed him dearly throughout his rehab. So I'm going to get to Alohi in a bit. Thanks for the call, brother. Appreciate
Not
you.
a problem.
There is a lot to be said about the Adafe emergence in LA, right? Because I mean, that dude, and granted, you get to play with a guy like Khalil Mack, and that has to be a part of the conversation. But obviously the Ravens got a safety, a much needed safety presence in Alohi, an experienced one. Kyle Hamilton's former Notre Dame teammate, and the Chargers got Adafe, who immediately hit the ground running for them. Here's Alohi on his future.
It would be a privilege to be back here. After everything we went through, the relationships, I love everything about this place. Just the culture, the identity, the coaches. It's definitely something that I feel like I align myself with as a player, as a person. And, if that happens, then it would be a privilege. And if not, that's what life happens. But I definitely would love to come back.
One of the many decisions that the Ravens will have to make in terms of Alohi's imminent future. And man, oh man, you just wish there was a legitimate decision that could have been made in game to get Kyle Hamilton back out there. But clearly he did not clear concussion protocol. And as the numbers that Warren Sharp tallied up suggest here, the Ravens defense suffered and laid down because of it without number 14 out there. There's no way around that whatsoever. Maurice has been holding for a minute. Let's get you in here. Welcome to the program, brother. Talk to me tonight. Where are you at?
Well, I'm just like everybody else. I am sick to my stomach. I am pissed about the outcome of the game. And also, everybody check on Tyler Loop, because I can only imagine Tyler Loop has been going through the ringer after the game. So you can't help but feel for the poor guy. And another thing I would like to mention is that, yeah, I feel like Josina Anderson has been crawling under a rock for, I don't know, Lord knows how long, where she stated that many other teams would kill for a coach like John Harbaugh. Nope, I disagree. There is absolutely no way in hell no team would kill for a coach who has a track record of blowing multiple double-digit leads, 17 double-digit leads over a span of 18 seasons. Like I don't agree with that. But the Lamar Jackson and John Harbaugh pair, I feel like it's run its course. I feel like he overstayed his tenure here. I feel like we are in need of a organizational reset, not just with the coordinators, but also with the head coach. But there's also no telling when Steve Bisciotti will finally get his head out of his ass and step in and say, hey, enough is enough. This hasn't been working out over the last several years. We're in need of a culture change as well as a coaching change, but only time will tell.
Thanks,
but that's
Maurice.
where I stand on this.
Appreciate the call. Let's get an update on where the poll is on that very topic. It's been a minute since I checked in on it. And as we approach 900 votes, 80% of you say that you are no longer a believer in the John Harbaugh, Lamar Jackson tandem in Baltimore. 20% of you, of course, say yes, that you are still a believer. And perhaps that's due to the reporting that's out there on the national level from many different outlets, that it sure does seem as if there is a belief that John Harbaugh will be back, meaning this tandem will be back and perhaps has not run its course, even though I think a lot of us believe that that is the case as of right now, 8 years in to this overall operation. EB, let's get you inside here. What's going on, brother? Good to see you, man. Talk to me.
Oh, Lord have mercy. I don't understand how you. I don't want to. I just want to. I don't understand it, and I've already crashed out enough. So if this motherfucking rodeo clown comes back as the Baltimore Ravens head coach, I won't be watching any games for that matter. Okay, maybe I'm lying. Maybe I tune in just because of Lamar, but outside of that, I'm tired of watching this clown hurt our team, hurt Lamar. I'm tired of his fucking next door neighbor also not putting valuable pieces around Lamar either. Like it's I don't know. I don't know what needs to happen for Bashai to get through his motherfucking head to wake up and smell what's burning right now. Like the man honestly needs to look at the numbers. He needs to really do a full evaluation. Get your head out of your ass, put your big boy pants on, and make an executive decision, because your fan base is not wrong. The evidence is there. The numbers are there. I just I don't get it.
EB, thank you, brother.
Hashtag boycott if this clown comes back. But I'm out here,
Appreciate
man.
you, EB. Later, brother. He's licking his wounds. I'm sure a lot of you can relate. EB, I forgot to ask him which cloud he was on, which stratosphere, or he said he was in the stratosphere. I think that he just lives in the stratosphere. That's above the clouds, for those of you that are wondering. Julian, talk to us tonight. What's going on?
I'm about to head to work. Well, I'm gonna just say this. I wasn't surprised about what happened last night because someone said it on the broadcast. The Ravens season ended how it began. With,
Yeah.
Sunday Night Football beginning, Sunday Night Football ending. Unfortunately, how I feel about Harbaugh right now, I already said my piece about him. A new voice is needed. I will be shocked if he's fired, because we've known the relationship between all three of those guys. But I'm banking on Harbaugh just staying here, and I just believe that morally, all the fan base, which we've been talking about, all the fan base, including me, do not want to see Harbaugh on the sidelines, and that's just the way it is right now. I mean, his philosophy, his teachings, everything that he's done is run its course to this point, and it needs to be a change, because if not, we're going to be stuck in limbo and stuck in an infinity loop that no pun intended, that we can't get out of. And another thing, I'm probably going to take a little sabbatical until the draft.
Hey now,
Like, mental
hey.
sabbatical, because they have like really pushed me to that point. At this point, like too many, just not. Look, I'll say this: I'll pop in every now and then, um, if there's breaking news or something like that. But I'm just going to take a mental sabbatical. So I got to do that.
We've been down this road before, Sarah and I. Like, I don't like the optics of that. Come on now. We're here with you. We're here with you.
Yeah. I'm good. It's just like, ugh, it's so frustrating. Like, it's beyond frustrating.
All right, brother.
It's nothing to do with like that. It's just like,
I know.
as far as the Ravens is concerned, I'm gonna take a mental sabbatical.
Get a little bit of R&R. We'll see you
Yeah.
when we see you, as
Yeah,
always.
I got you.
All right, Jewel.
All right.
And hey, if there's change, I think a lot of you will obviously want to be invested, because that's how it works. And perhaps there is change on the horizon. I don't know to what level, but we'll see. ZipRecruiter is sponsoring this show. And if you're hiring for your company, it's a busy time of year for you, because you've got new 2026 goals. And that means finding the right people to accomplish them. You also have new hiring challenges for 2026, like filling specialized roles or identifying qualified candidates from a huge pool of applicants. Lucky for you, there's a place that you can go that can help you conquer these challenges and achieve your hiring goals, and that's ZipRecruiter. Today, you can try it for free at ziprecruiter.com/audio. Let ZipRecruiter help you find the best people for all of your roles. 4 out of 5 employers who post on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. You can see for yourself. And again, try it for free today by visiting ziprecruiter.com/audio. That's ziprecruiter.com/audio. It's the smartest way to hire. It's ZipRecruiter. And both Sarah and I inside the vaults and here inside the Bobby Baltimore channel say thank you to them for the continued support of what it is that we're building here as the offseason begins in Baltimore. Everyone left in the waiting room. I got to be honest with you. It's time for me to tap out. We'll run it back tomorrow. 3 streams probably tomorrow as well. The collective returns at 8 o'clock. The vault is at 12 noon Eastern. We'll see what the morning consists of, depending on, I know, the waiting. Everybody's looking at me in the waiting room, including Chef, who wants 2.0. What does he think this is, a free-for-all? The rest of the waiting room, I'm starting to get the shakes. So I got to go eat and let Tilly out. She's looking at me like she wants to go out. So I got to go do that. And it was just that type of day. I got to go sleep too and try to salvage whatever's left of the week. So as tempting as it is to keep these waiting room lines and guest lines open, I'm sorry. I just got to go. And who knows? Maybe I'll just go sit and watch the rest of the game, being that it's halftime right now in the replay of last night. A lot of you have been asking lately. We get texts or we get messages about this. If you want to donate outside of the super chat feature, people always wonder how. And a way to do so is through Venmo or Cash App. Nothing is ever expected. Anything and everything is always appreciated. So if you'd like to, I just have that up on the screen for you. Thanks to Preston Automotive Group for the continued support. Guys, if you're in the market for a new or pre-owned vehicle in 2026, I hope that you'll consider working with my sponsor, Preston Automotive Group. They have locations and dealerships all throughout the DMV, including a hefty presence on the Eastern Shore. Liberty Road is Preston Ford West. That's the one that I go to and use, most notably when I'm in the Baltimore area. Northern Virginia has a couple options for you as well, including in the Delaware area. So just want to say thanks to Preston. You can find them on Instagram at Preston Automotive Group. I'd appreciate it on the way out if you could like the video, subscribe to the channel, hit that notification bell, consider becoming a channel member or gift-giving membership as the offseason begins in Baltimore, and there will be a lot to discuss as a result. thanks for spending some time with me tonight. I appreciate you. Everybody who dropped in with super chats. You guys are just a phenomenal component to what it is that we do. And we always love when you inject your voice into the programming. Shimmy Boy gets us on out of here. And Shimmy writes, Bisciotti and Harbs are both Catholic. Unless the Pope tells Bisciotti it's okay to let Harbs go, I don't see it happening. And why don't we finish there? Thank you, guys. I'll catch up with you tomorrow. I appreciate you, as always, for all the support that you give this channel and the vault. We couldn't do it without you. Get some sleep. We'll catch up with you on Tuesday.